Hello grade 7 learners, have a nice day. Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'll be discussing to you about properties of operations on the set of integers. Let's begin with the first property, closure property. When we're talking about closure property, it means that the two integers that are added or multiplied remain as integers. Under closure property, we have two. Closure property of addition, so meaning adding two real numbers produces other real number. Example, if we have 2 plus 3, of course that is equal to 5. 2 and 3 are both real numbers, and their sum is also a real number. That is what is meant by closure property of addition. Another, if we have here negative 6 plus negative 4, the answer is negative 10. The two numbers are integers, and the sum is also an integer. Okay, that is what we call closure property of addition. Next, for closure property of multiplication. Multiplying two real numbers produces another real number. Say example, if we have 6 times 5, 6 and 5 are real numbers, and their product is 30, which is also a real number. Next, we have negative 6 times 2. The two numbers are integers, and of course, the product, which is negative 12, is also an integer. That is closure property of multiplication. Next property, commutative property. Changing the order of two numbers that are being added or multiplied does not change the value. For commutative property, we have commutative property of addition. So two integers can be added in any order. Example, we have 2 plus 5. This can also be added as 5 plus 2. In here, 2 is the first, while the second one, 5, is the first. But when we are going to get the sum, they have the same answer. So 2 plus 5 is 7, while 5 plus 2 is also 7. That is what we call commutative, changing the order. Example number 2. Negative 8 plus 5 is just the same as 5 plus negative 8. In here, negative 8 is the first addend, while on the other hand, 5 is the first addend. But the two have the same sum, which is equal to negative 3. So, changing the order does not change the value. We also have commutative property of multiplication. So two integers can be multiplied in any order. If we have 6 times 5, we can also have 5 times 6. In here, 6 is the first, while on the other hand, we have 5 is the first. Okay, so changing the order does not change the value. 6 times 5 is 30, while 5 times 6 is also 30. Example number 2. Negative 3 times 5 is just the same as 5 times negative 3. Both of them will have a product of negative 15. Next, distributive property. When two numbers have been added, subtracted, and then multiplied by a factor, the result will be the same when each number is multiplied by the factor and the products are then added or subtracted. Say, example number 1, 2 times quantity of 5 plus 4. Okay, applying the distributive property, we have to multiply 2 by 5. That is why we have here 2 times 5 plus, okay, Next, we have 2 times 4. That's why we have here 2 times 4. Now, once we're going to simplify this, we have 2 times quantity of 5 plus 4. 5 plus 4 is 9. And 2 times 9 is equal to 18. Now, if we're going to simplify the right side of this equation, so we have 2 times 5 is 10, and 2 times 4 is 8. Once we add 10 plus 8, that is equal to 18. So they are just equal. Another example, for subtraction. 4 times quantity of 5 minus 3. So, applying the distributive property, we have 4 times 5. That's why we have this one. Minus 4 times 3. That's why we have this. Okay. Now, if we're going to simplify 5 minus 3, that is equal to 2. Bring down 4. 4 times 2 is 8. The other side, we have 4 times 5, that is equal to 20. And 4 times 3 is 12. So 20 minus 12, that is equal to 8. So they are just the same. The property illustrated is distributive property. Now let's have the fourth property. The fourth property is associative property. Changing the grouping of numbers that are either being added or multiplied does not change its value. So for this property, the grouping of numbers will be changed. Under associative property, we have associative property of addition. If 3 integers are added, changing the grouping of numbers that are added that does not change the sum. Example, quantity of 2 plus 3 plus 4 is just equal to 2 plus quantity of 3 plus 4. On the left side of the equation, 2 and 3 are being grouped, while on the right side of the equation, 3 and 4 are being grouped. But once we find the sum, they have the same answer. So, this is associative property. Now, let's try to check if they have the same sum. Here we have to find the sum first of 2 and 3. 2 and 3 is 5. Bring down 4. And 5 plus 4 is equal to 9. Now we have also to find the sum of 2 and quantity of 3 plus 4. So bring down 2. 3 plus 4 is 7. 2 plus 7 is equal to 9. So see, they have the same sum. This is associative property of addition. Another example. Negative 1 plus quantity of 1 plus 5 is equal to negative 5 plus 1 plus 5. So in here, 1 and 5 are being grouped, while on the right side of the equation, negative 5 plus 1 are being grouped. Now let's try to check if we have the same answer. So bring down negative 5. 1 plus 5 is 6. Negative 5 plus 6, that is equal to 1. Now let's simplify the right side of the equation. Negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4. Bring down positive 5. Now let's add. Negative 4 plus 5, that is also equal to 1. So see, they have the same answer even if we have changed the grouping of numbers. The second property under associative is associative property of multiplication. If 3 integers are multiplied, changing the grouping of numbers that are multiplied does not change the product. So in here, we will be dealing with multiplication. 2 times quantity of 6 times 5 is just equal to 2 quantity of 2 times 6 times 5. In here, we have group 6 and 5, while on the right side, we group 2 and 6. Now let's check if they have the same answer. So bring down 2 times 6 times 5 is equal to 30. Multiply 2 times 30 is equal to 60. Now let's simplify the right side of the equation. So we have to multiply first 2 times 6. 2 times 6 is 12. Bring down 5. 12 times 5 is 60. So they have the same answer even if we have changed the grouping of numbers. Next property is identity property. For identity property, we have additive identity property. It states that the sum of any number and 0 is the given number. 0 is the additive identity. So if we have a plus 0 where a is any number, that is equal to a. Example, 4 plus 0, of course, that is equal to 4. Another is 0 plus negative 6. Of course, the sum is equal to negative 6. The property being illustrated is additive identity property. We also have multiplicative identity property. It states that the product of any number and 1 is the given number. A times 1 is equal to A. 1 is the multiplicative identity. Okay, example, we have 6 times 1, that is equal to 6. While negative 7 times 1, that is equal to negative 7. And the property being illustrated is multiplicative identity property. Next property, inverse property. For the inverse property, we have additive inverse property. It states that the sum of any number and its additive inverse is 0. Remember, the additive inverse of a positive number is the negative of that number. That is, a plus negative a is equal to 0. So, the additive inverse of a is negative a. Once we add the two, the sum is 0. On the other hand, the additive inverse of negative number is the positive of that number. That is, negative a plus a, that is equal to 0. Okay, for example, we have here 8. The additive inverse of 8 is negative 8. So once we add it to, their sum is 0. Next, negative 10. The additive inverse of negative 10 is 10. Now, if we're going to add the two integers, their sum is 0. We also have multiplicative inverse property. States that the product of any number and its multiplicative inverse or reciprocal is 1. The multiplicative inverse of the number a is 1 over a. Okay, example, 7. Its inverse is 1 over 7. Why we have 1 over 7? That is reciprocal. 7 has a denominator of 1. So get the reciprocal. 1 now is at the numerator and 7 became the denominator. So once we multiply 7 times 1 over 7, that is equal to 1. Why? We have 7 divided by 7, that is 1. So 1 times 1, we have here 1. Another example, negative 8. The reciprocal of negative 8 is negative 1 over 8. Okay, so once we multiply this one, we have 1 as our product. And lastly, if we have 3/8, the reciprocal of 3/8 is 8 over 3. So once we multiply this one, we can divide the common factors. So 3 divided by 3, that is already 1. And 8 divided by 8 is also 1. So therefore, 1 times 1 is 1. And 1 times 1 is 1. So 1 divided by 1 is equal to 1. Okay? And this is multiplicative inverse property. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Kindly like, and if you have questions regarding the video, just write it in the comment box. Don't forget to share to other students for them to learn or master the lesson, and please don't forget to subscribe to be updated for more math lesson videos and turn on the bell for notifications. Before I end, let me share to you one of the verses from the Bible. For the Lord your God is he that goeth with you to fight for you against your enemies, to save you. Deuteronomy 20 verse 4. That's all for today, and God bless you all.